Hey, family. Yeah, you. The ones who stay up too late scrolling for answers, who pause the video at 2 a.m. to check the locks twice. I see you. I am you. Tonight, I'm not just telling a story. I'm handing you a key to a door they swore was welded shut. In 1973, three scientists, in a concrete box on the edge of nowhere, heard a voice on a frequency that shouldn't exist. 43 seconds. One sentence. Coordinates to a patch of ocean that's been empty on every map since the Vikings. And then it screamed. This is the 3I Atlas incident. No clickbait, no filler, just the raw file they buried under 6 layers of red tape. If you're here, you're ready to feel the cold creep in. So lean in close, hit subscribe if you haven't, and let's walk into the static together. In the winter of 1973, a radio telescope in the Arctic Circle picked up a signal that wasn't just noise. It was a voice. A human voice, speaking in a language no one could identify, broadcasting coordinates to a place that didn't exist on any map. The signal lasted 43 seconds before vanishing. The team who heard it swore it wasn't a prank. They called it the Atlas signal. And it wasn't until decades later, when classified files leaked, that the world learned what they'd stumbled into. The ice was relentless that February night, clawing at the concrete walls of the Atlas Observatory, a remote station perched on the edge of Greenland's frozen tundra. Inside, 3 scientists, Dr. Elena Voss, a linguist, Dr. Marcus Heller, an astrophysicist, and a young technician named Paul Ryder, huddled around a flickering console. They were part of Project 3I, an obscure Cold War initiative buried under layers of bureaucracy, funded by a shadowy coalition of NATO governments. Officially, 3I stood for Interstellar Intelligence Initiative. Unofficially, it was a desperate bid to eavesdrop on the cosmos for signs of extraterrestrial life or Soviet secrets. No one expected to find either, but that night they did. The signal came at 3:17 a.m. It wasn't the usual static or cosmic hum. It was rhythmic, deliberate, like a chant. Voss, fluent in 7 languages, froze as the voice crackled through the speakers. It wasn't Russian, Chinese, or anything human ears had cataloged. The words, if they were words, felt ancient, guttural, like a prayer from a forgotten world. Ryder, barely 22, scribbled down the coordinates. The voice repeated, 72.3 to Gen, 19.7 to Getty W. When they plotted it, the location pointed to a barren stretch of the Arctic Ocean. No land, no stations, nothing. Yet the voice kept speaking, calm but insistent, as if it knew they were listening. The team didn't sleep that night. Heller, a skeptic who'd once debunked a UFO sighting as a weather balloon, was shaken. He ran diagnostics on the telescope, convinced it was a glitch, but the equipment was pristine. Voss, meanwhile, became obsessed, replaying the recording until the tape warped. She claimed the language had patterns, syntax, cadence, intent. "It's not random," she whispered, her eyes bloodshot. "It's trying to tell us something." Ryder, the youngest, was the first to suggest they report it. But Voss stopped him. "If we tell NATO, they'll bury it," she said. "Or worse, they'll bury us." What the team didn't know was that Project 3I wasn't just about listening to the stars. Declassified documents, leaked in 2019, revealed its true purpose: to weaponize cosmic signals. NATO believed that if extraterrestrial intelligence existed, its technology could tip the balance of the Cold War. The Atlas Observatory wasn't just a listening post. It was a testing ground for something called the harmonic array, a device designed to amplify and manipulate unknown signals. No one had ever tested it until that night. The team decided to keep the signal a secret, at least until they could understand it. But secrets in isolated places have a way of festering. Reiter started having nightmares, vivid dreams of a black ocean swallowing the stars. Voss began sketching symbols she claimed came from the signal, symbols that matched no known alphabet. Heller, the rationalist, started drinking heavily, muttering about fractures in reality. By the third day, the observatory's logs showed they'd stopped communicating with NATO entirely. They were alone, with only the signal's ghostly voice for company. Then, on the fifth night, the signal changed. It wasn't a voice anymore. It was a scream. The hook. In 1973, a fishing trawler in the Arctic Ocean vanished without a trace. Its last transmission was a single word: Atlas. The crew of 12 was never found, but a grainy photograph from a nearby ship showed something impossible. A glowing shape in the water, too vast to be man-made, pulsing like a heartbeat. The scream from the Atlas signal wasn't human. It was layered, like 1,000 voices crying out at once, then collapsing into silence. Voss collapsed too, clutching her head as blood trickled from her nose. Ryder dragged her to the infirmary, while Heller frantically checked the harmonic array. The device, which hadn't been activated, was humming, its dials glowing faintly. "We didn't turn it on," Heller muttered, his hands trembling. It turned itself on. The team was unraveling, but the signal's coordinates haunted them. Against protocol, they redirected the observatory satellite to scan the Arctic Ocean site. What they saw wasn't water or ice. It was a distortion, like a heat wave rippling over the ocean. Satellite images showed a faint, circular anomaly, 300 meters wide, pulsing in rhythm with the signal. Voss, recovering but pale, insisted it was a portal. "It's not just a signal," she said. "It's a door." Heller scoffed, but his eyes betrayed his fear. Rieter, meanwhile, found something chilling in the observatory's archives. A 1956 report about a similar anomaly in the same coordinates, dismissed as a magnetic disturbance. The report mentioned a missing Soviet submarine and strange carvings found on nearby icebergs, identical to Voss's sketches. Project Three Eyes' origins were darker than the team knew. Declassified files later revealed it was inspired by a 1947 incident in Antarctica, where a U.S. Navy expedition stumbled across a cave system filled with unreadable inscriptions. The carvings pulsed with faint light, and compasses nearby spun wildly. The expedition's lead scientist, Dr. Arthur Crane, vanished after entering the cave, leaving behind a journal describing voices from the void. NATO buried the report, but used it to justify Three Eyes' creation. The harmonic array wasn't just a receiver. It was built to replicate the cave's energy, to force open whatever Crane had found. Back at the observatory, the team made a reckless decision. They activated the harmonic array, aiming it at the coordinates. The machine roared to life, shaking the building. Lights flickered, and the air grew heavy, like a storm was brewing inside. The signal returned, louder, clearer. A voice now speaking in broken English. "Come, see, no." Then static. Then nothing. The anomaly on the satellite feed vanished, but something else appeared. A shadow in the water, moving toward the observatory. Rader was the first to notice the ice outside cracking. Not naturally, but in patterns. Spirals, fractals, like the symbols Voss had drawn. The temperature inside the observatory plummeted, despite the heaters running at full blast. Voss, now feverish, claimed she could see the signal's source in her mind. A city beneath the ocean, older than humanity, its towers glowing with unnatural light. Heller, unraveling, locked himself in the control room, refusing to speak. Raider, desperate, sent a coded message to NATO. Atlas compromised. Anomaly active. Send help. Help never came. Instead, a fishing trawler 200 miles away reported seeing a glow in the water, then went silent. Its last transmission, Atlas, was picked up by a nearby ship. The photograph from that ship, later buried by NATO, showed a shape in the ocean, a vast pulsing form, like a living constellation. The trawler's crew was never found, but debris washed ashore weeks later, etched with the same fractal patterns seen outside the observatory. By the seventh day, the team was no longer in control. The harmonic array was running itself, its dials locked on the anomaly's coordinates. Voss began speaking in the signal's language, her eyes vacant. Heller, in a drunken rage, tried to destroy the array but collapsed, clutching his chest. Ryder, alone and terrified, recorded a final log. "The signal isn't from space, it's from here. It's been here all along." And we woke it up. In 1974, a NATO cleanup crew arrived at the Atlas Observatory to find it abandoned. The walls were covered in carvings, symbols no one could read, etched so deeply they cracked the concrete. The harmonic array was melted, as if burned from the inside, and in the snow outside, a single set of footprints led to the edge of the ice and stopped. The cleanup crew's report, declassified in 2021, painted a grim picture. The observatory was a tomb. Equipment was smashed, papers burned, and the air smelled of ozone and something metallic like blood. The carvings on the walls weren't random. They formed a map pointing to the same Arctic Ocean coordinates. But what chilled the crew most was the silence. No animals, no wind, just a suffocating stillness, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Rieger's final log was recovered, but it was incomplete, ending mid-sentence. "It's not a city, it's alive." The tape was warped, as if exposed to extreme heat. Voss and Heller were gone, their personal belongings untouched. The crew found Voss's notebook, filled with sketches of a spiraling structure, half city, half organism, glowing under black water. One page had a single phrase in her handwriting: "It sees us." NATO sealed the site, but the Atlas incident didn't end there. In the months that followed, strange reports surfaced across the Arctic. Whalers saw lights beneath the ice, flickering in patterns. Seismic stations recorded tremors from the ocean floor, too rhythmic to be natural. A Greenlandic village reported a mass hallucination. Hundreds of people dreaming of a voice chanting coordinates, the same ones from the signal. NATO dismissed it as mass hysteria, but secretly dispatched a submarine to investigate the anomaly's location. It never returned. The Atlas incident was buried under layers of red tape, but whispers persisted. A 1975 memo, leaked decades later, revealed NATO's fear. The harmonic array hadn't just amplified the signal, it had torn a hole in reality. The memo referenced Project Erebus, a covert operation to contain whatever the array had unleashed. Erebus teams found evidence of older incidents, Viking runes from 900 AD describing a sea that speaks, Inuit legends of a sleeper in the deep, and a 19th century whaling log about a crew who saw a city of light before vanishing. Each story pointed to the same coordinates. Back at the observatory, the cleanup crew faced their own nightmare. One member, a young officer named Lena Korsakov, reported hearing whispers in the walls, voices speaking her name. Another found a hidden compartment in the array, containing a crystal fragment that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. When they tried to remove it, The ground shook, and the carvings on the walls glowed. The crew fled, leaving the crystal behind. Korsakov later vanished during a routine patrol, her last report mentioning eyes in the ice. The Atlas signal wasn't just a sound, it was a call, and something had answered. In 2023, a deep-sea drone exploring the Arctic Ocean captured footage of something impossible. A structure, miles wide, glowing faintly on the ocean floor. The footage was erased within hours, but not before a single frame leaked online. A spiraling city, half ruined, pulsing like a living thing. The coordinates, the same ones from the Atlas signal. The world never learned the full truth about the Atlas incident. NATO classified it as a technical malfunction, blaming the observatory's destruction on a gas leak. But the leaked files tell a different story. One of hubris, fear, and a force humanity was never meant to touch. The harmonic array wasn't just a machine. It was a key, built from fragments of that Antarctic cave, designed to unlock something ancient. And it worked too well. The entity beneath the ocean, whatever it was, didn't come from the stars. It was here before us, sleeping in the dark, older than the continents. The Viking runes, Inuit legends, and whaling logs weren't myths. They were warnings. The signal was its voice, stirred by the array's reckless activation. Voss, Heller, and Ryder didn't vanish. They were taken. Their footprints, their carvings, their screams were the last traces of a collision between humanity's ambition and something vast, unknowable, and awake. The 2023 drone footage, though erased, sparked rumors. Divers reported strange currents, pulling them toward the coordinates. Satellites detected magnetic anomalies, stronger than ever. Posts on X from Arctic researchers mentioned unexplained equipment failures and dreams of a voice chanting numbers. The world is closer to the truth than it knows, but the truth is a trap. The more we seek, the louder the signal grows. The moral. Humanity's greatest flaw isn't curiosity, it's arrogance. We built machines to speak to the stars, but forgot to listen to the Earth. The Atlas incident isn't a story of discovery, it's a warning. Some doors, once opened, can't be closed, and some voices, once heard, never stop calling. This narrative is designed to captivate and unsettle, blending historical intrigue with cosmic horror. Each part builds tension, reveals new layers, and leaves the audience questioning what lies beneath the surface of our world.